some small businesses, large and small, talk about red tape and the bureaucratic challenges of opening a business, expanding your business, doing business. So, as part of the small business creation process that you'd like to get streamlined, is there anything that you can streamline, I should say, from a regulatory perspective?
So the president has laid out 4 goals, essentially, for small businesses. One is to increase their access to credit, which, as interest rates rise, will be increasingly important. Second is a real whole-of-government effort to help small businesses navigate the bureaucracy to get what they need. And you saw a lot of success. I mean, just going to keep pointing back to the Payroll Protection Program, primarily because we have research evidence that the steps that the administration took early in 2021 to expand access were effective. And there's been a GAO study and some academic studies that have shown that more small businesses, more businesses run by people of color were able to access it once the administration took these steps to make it more available, to make it more transparent. So that's the second prong, is to help people navigate. So there's different programs and that the Small Business Association is running and Treasury to help that navigation. Another core piece is to make sure that small businesses that we have a tax system that is fair for them, that rewards work and not wealth, and that really does make sure that the tax burden is being borne by the businesses that can most afford it. And then finally, the president is really focused on making sure that as we spend federal dollars through procurement, through the bipartisan infrastructure and the like, that those benefits, where appropriate, go to small businesses. So I actually ran into my colleague this morning in the stairs who's running this program, but thinking about how with procurement, you can make sure that those small businesses know how they can supply the federal government, how they can get a contract, how they can sell to the federal government. And there's a series of steps that the administration is taking to ramp that up and to make sure that the smallest businesses, the most disadvantaged businesses, do have that access. So it's such the bread and butter of what government does.
The first thing you said, though, was making sure they have access to credit. As you mentioned, interest rates are rising. So how do you ensure they're still able to not only have access, but also afford the credit that they do receive?
Well, there's a series of programs that small businesses can apply for to get access to credit, to loans, to startup funds, and there's things like the Small Business Initiative Program that is making capital available to states and tribal entities and communities around the country. That's helping to create this that economic opportunity through loans and other devices for small businesses around the country. So there's a series of government programs that can help. Certainly the historically low interest rates that we've had for a while, created that opportunity, and it will remain to be seen as interest rates rise up, whether or not that does create problems for small businesses.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask about immigration. Unemployment is very low. But what role does immigration now and also perhaps down the road, given the economic indicators that you see, how important is that going to play for these small businesses and these new businesses?
You mean in terms of accessing workers? Mm-hmm. Well, so one of the things that we've seen through the pandemic is that in the early part of the recovery from the pandemic, the return to work was somewhat slow. And so a lot of folks were sort of thinking about, we have a lower rate of immigration. Those workers are not here as they would have been in previous times. Certainly that can provide that added labor supply. We've also seen in recent months especially the people coming back into the labor force. We've seen older folks who tend to cycle in and out of retirement coming back in more similar to traditional patterns. So you do continue to see across the economy supply. There, of course, are some sectors where they are pinched, but immigration remains certainly an issue that the president is eager to work with Congress on. It was something that he talked about on day one, but it remains a challenging issue.